I'm attorney Martin Nicholson from the law office of Martin Nicholson, also known as the Battery Man for my focus on criminal battery cases. I'm going to talk about just briefly the issue of mistrials. People have asked me repeatedly about what is a mistrial, what is involved in a mistrial. Back in August of last year, I did a video about the issue of mistrials. This was before the Jonathan Majors case, but it is applicable. One of the things that causes a mistrial is when jurors cannot reach a verdict. When you have some people saying that he's guilty, some people saying he's not guilty, and they cannot come to a unanimous decision, that means there's a mistrial. The judge really gets to determine how long this goes before there's really a mistrial. When they come out and they say, hey, we can't make a decision, a unanimous decision, the judge can say, keep deliberating. And he can say that several times before they say, hey, we are hopelessly deadlocked, and then he can declare a mistrial. At that point, the state has the opportunity to try him again, or they can offer him some kind of plea agreement, which I'm sure he would not accept, or they can go ahead and not try him at all. So it'll be up to them, the state of New York, how they would like to proceed. There are other examples of mistrials that I explained in the video that I did back in August of 2022. Here are some clips that I did back then. This is an episode I did back on Saturday, August 6, 2022 for my podcast called The Circle City News. This is the Circle City News with attorney Mark Nicholson. I'm here with Allie, who is co-hosting with me today. It is Saturday, August 6, 2022. She's interning with me. She's been a co-host of this show for, almost since the new beginning of it anyway. And also, this is going to be her, I think, third semester interning with the law office of Martin Nicholson. She's very busy. It's always a pleasure for her, or always a pleasure for us to be able to spend time with her. I know she's very busy and she's very much in demand all across the world. She just came from a modeling event in Europe, and now she's back. Actually, I don't know where she is now. Where are you, Allie?
I'm in Indianapolis. I'm back.
Okay, all right. Back home. Okay, yeah. I know she's usually there, and sometimes she's in Virginia and everything. Since this is Circle City News where we discuss legal stuff, I would like to transition into another legal topic. Legal stuff is mistrial. Do you know what a mistrial is?
Somewhat.
Okay, what do you know?
I don't know that I'm prepared to say everything correctly right now, but do you think...
It's okay. That's what I'm here for. So I'll correct you.
Okay.
Gently.
Okay, so isn't a mistrial when... I don't know. I really don't think that I could say it right now.
Well, go ahead and give it a shot.
Okay, so is it when somebody is assigned like a court date and then they for some reason they like don't show up and then they have to go again?
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Very, very close.
Okay.
So part of what happens at a mistrial is it could be exactly that, where a trial date is set and the person doesn't show up to trial for various reasons, because maybe they got sick, maybe they were in a car accident, maybe they just don't even show up altogether. And it's like, oh, we have a mistrial. Maybe the trial's going and then the person gets COVID.
Okay.
And now there's a mistrial because they can't be, they can't come to court and things like that. There are various reasons why things can end in a mistrial. Mm-hmm. And basically a mistrial is something that occurs during a trial where there's not a verdict. So if you think of a trial, there's usually some kind of verdict, right? Someone's guilty, not guilty, ruled in your favor, ruled against you. Well, in a mistrial, that means that there was not a verdict. Something happened. If something made it to where it could not go to a verdict.
Mm-hmm.
And those are some examples, kind of like what you gave, very close. Other types of examples of a mistrial can occur when someone does something intentionally or unintentionally that causes a mistrial. For example, if you're not supposed to, you can't mention that this person has mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Jury can't know he has mental health issues for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making up these examples. And then someone, the witness, the opposing counsel, the prosecutor, whatever in a particular case, oh, he has mental health issues, you shouldn't believe him, something like that. Well, at that point, the judge can then declare a mistrial. One of the parties objects, say, Judge, you said they couldn't say this. The judge can admonish the jury and say, look, disregard what the person said, or the judge can say, I'm declaring a mistrial.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happens. Now, it could be accidental, could be intentional. We also consider things that are called evidentiary harpoons, where the prosecutor or the witness says things that they know are improper that are going to basically cause a mistrial. Then you also have a situation where you can have a mistrial because there's not enough jurors. Not enough jurors because of a lot of them got struck from the jury panel. Maybe you start off with enough jurors and then a juror got sick or whatever, or found out they could no longer do the trial, family emergencies, whatever, and then they start dropping off. So in criminal cases, major felony, you have to have 12 jurors. And then if you don't have 12 jurors, that can cause a mistrial if you have less than 12. However, the Supreme Court of the United States has said you can try cases that with less than 12 jurors. Not necessarily a good idea, but you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's other types of mistrials that can happen for various types of reasons. You know, the judge gets sick, the attorneys, all that kind of stuff like that. At the end of the day, what happens is the case gets reset for a trial again. One of the questions that I'm frequently asked, Allie, is, well, how many mistrials can there be? How many mistrials? And there can be technically as many as it takes to get to the trial.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it makes things harder when the parties have to retry the case. Sometimes, depending on where the mistrial occurs, that the person may know the other side's story. If the one side started presenting their case and then it started being a mistrial, then the other side kind of knows what they're going to say. If they both presented part of their case, they both know, so there may be less surprises. And I'll repeat that I get asked a lot is how many mistrials can a person have? There's not really a limit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, in my experience, mistrials are more likely to happen in criminal cases than they are in civil cases, but they can happen in criminal cases and civil as well. So do you have a little better understanding now of mistrials?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I was really curious as well about like the amount. And I guess like what is considered adequate enough for a mistrial? Like if the fault lies on like the jury, like when do you again have a mistrial? Like how is that rescheduled if like there aren't enough jurors?
So if there's not enough jurors, then what happens is the parties get together with the court, look on the calendar for when can they get together again. Sometimes it can be very difficult because of the issue concerning of the witnesses, the court calendar, if there's experts, the attorney's schedule, all that kind of stuff like that has a lot to do with when a case can be rescheduled.
Mm.
And so that's not really necessarily like, okay, well, it has to be rescheduled within a certain time unless it's a criminal case and the person files for a motion for a fast and speedy trial, which I'll talk about on some other episode. But that way they have to try the case within like 70 days in Indiana. And then they would be on a time limit of when they could try the case. But in most cases, the people are trying to find a date that all the parties can get together and try the case and be prepared to try the case.
Okay.
And then the other question that you kind of asked was, what determines, a mistrial?
Right.
Obviously, if you don't have enough jurors, that would be something. Sometimes it's kind of up to the judge whether or not it's going to be a mistrial. Well, it's always really up to the judge if it's a mistrial, but it's just a judgment call in the sense of they said, a word, a phrase that they were not supposed to hear. Can we just go with an admonishment to the jury, and then that's it? We don't need to do anything else. Just give them admonishment. If it happens 3 or 4 times, maybe the judge is like, that's enough. It's happened 3 or 4 times. I'm declaring a mistrial. It could happen once, and the judge declares a mistrial. If you find out that for whatever reason the jury's been prejudiced by something in the news, the judge could give an admonishment, or the judge can say we're declaring a mistrial. So it's just one of those kind of things that's really up to the discretion of the court in most cases.
How does a double jeopardy play in a mistrial? Like, I guess, would there be a situation where they coincide, or?
It is possible, yes, that in criminal cases, you can argue that it is double jeopardy to try the person again if the prosecutor intentionally caused a mistrial. And what I mentioned about evidentiary harpoon, you could say jeopardy attached, he should not be tried again, that the prosecutor has intentionally caused this mistrial, and there should not be a retrial. And then it's up to the judge to decide whether or not to proceed with the second or third trial, or however many times it's been a mistrial. So double jeopardy definitely does apply. And basically, for people that don't know what double jeopardy is, in the United States, you really can't be held accountable for the same crime twice. So if you get prosecuted for theft, then they cannot come back later and prosecute you again for theft. So if you have a trial for theft and the prosecutor intentionally causes a mistrial, you can argue that this was double jeopardy for you to be tried again, because they had their chance to try you and they messed it up by intentionally causing a mistrial. And then you would be barred from prosecution again on that particular case. And so Indiana has a pretty strict standard, or more open standard, I guess, when it comes to the idea of double jeopardy than the federal. And once again, that's something I will have to save for another episode to talk about the standard of double jeopardy in Indiana.
Interesting. Yeah, it's
All
always
right.
good.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's it about that. It's just always good to learn more about just legal terms.
Awesome. Well, Allie, it's been great seeing you again. I'm glad you're doing well. Congratulations on your contract and all the work that you're doing across the world. And I look forward to seeing you in the office soon.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.